Hey everybody, Kit Merker here from Plainsight, and I'm joined by Larry Carvalho. He's the principal consultant at Robust Cloud, and
Yep.
known you for a long time, a
Yes.
long-time industry analyst. So here we are in Seattle. You got to go see, I understand, the Seahawks last night.
Yep.
They probably had a rougher night than you did.
Of course, they.
But you got invited by AWS, right? So
Yep.
what's going on with AWS? What did they share with you?
So Amazon has changed their culture a little bit. Normally, they would, not tell you anything up to reInvent, and now they called us here almost 2 months before reInvent and uh, briefed a bunch of analysts about what they're going to come up with, and part of it was some fun times at the Seahawks. We got to see the game. Yes, Seahawks didn't do well, but I did hear about what the 12th man is really in Seahawks. The decibel level was going so high. But I saw some interesting things at Lumen Field. There was about 15 locations where Amazon Just Go Out technology was implemented in different ways. Some was with vision and some was with RFID checkouts, but both got the movement of traffic through these small store formats very quick.
So Amazon's been in the news a little bit around the Just Walk Out and
Yep.
some of the stores and things like that. So what's kind of the latest? Is there anything you can share about what's going on with their
Yeah, what they
their
told
stores?
us without not under NDA or anything like that, that they're closing out these bigger store formats, which was purely vision based, because there's a lot of challenges in that. It also reduced the total space in the store. So they wanted to get out of that. So what they are now doing is using cart technology. So you take your cart, scan it, put it in your cart, and just walk out after you have already scanned it. So it's a little different from all the vision, but the vision is still very relevant in the smaller store format, which is being used like in the stadiums or airports, and those are the best places to use it. What I noticed is there were stores which were not the Just Go Out, and the ones that seems like the fans knew that, hey, I can go pick up something and go right out very fast. So the traffic is really quick, and I think that helps, both that. So that application of computer vision to some of this was very relevant, and we were seeing the real good customer experience in different formats of the Just Go Out technology.
It's interesting because if you're Amazon and you're building these stores, it sounds like even for them simplifying
Yes.
the experience. So reducing the footprint, putting it in different locations, maybe changing the tracking experience a bit, probably help them. And I think that there's relevance for that for enterprises that are thinking about computer vision as well.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes, I think this is a way that most companies go, like in a startup mode. Say, hey, let's try this technology. This works. This doesn't work. Let's see what's working, and then keep moving forward.
Yeah. So when other companies are looking at this, I'm sure that they're thinking that Amazon is going to spend all kinds of investment around this. I think the real question is what do you think are some of the blockers for other companies that are not at Amazon scale to adopt these kinds of advanced AI and computer vision technologies? What are you seeing there?
I think it's mainly simplicity and cost. So what is relevant for me? Each company has a different challenge. This is good in a small retail store format, but then you have manufacturing, you have agriculture, you have mining, you have so many places where computer vision can be applied. And that has a need for a simple solution that takes the data, changes it from what is computer vision to more of a format that you can analyze it, like in a structured format about what you're getting the value of the data, and then push it out to real business value that you can deliver for that customer. And the biggest issue is costs. If you say, I'm not going to give you a good ROI, nobody's going to touch it. So the question also becomes, what is the ROI you're going to get out of such a solution?
Yeah, so we'll come back. I want to come back to this cost question, but I know there's another really hot topic that has been coming up, and I had a friend of mine actually texted me from Amsterdam because he's there at the AI event. He goes, everybody's talking about agents.
Yes.
Are you know about AI agents? What's your take on AI agents?
So I was surprised in the last 3 months where everybody's talking about agents. How are you going to now deliver value by an agent. So people are talking about, I'm going to have an agent help you.
Well, first of all, before we get into that, can you just explain? Maybe you know better than I do. What is an agent? What do these companies mean when they say agent?
So I think an agent is a way that you can envelop some business processes or connect some business processes and do a unique task. And now you can take a flow and take one agent connected with another agent and now build a complete business process that is automated, that you can now perform a task automatically, which was not being able to be done there before. And now you're moving very quickly towards automation of any complex end-to-end task.
So when I think about this evolution, right? I imagine the evolution from, maybe think of like apps to chatbots to agents being kind of like the next phase of an application framework. And it seems to be a big part of the agent model, at least from my understanding, is that it's also doing things for you when you're not necessarily interacting with it. Is that one of the big differences?
That would be, yes. The goal would be to now say, I'm going to go with one specific task and not have to interact it. It'll be a zero touch, and you just interact with it behind the scenes. And you see Salesforce, you see Workday, you see all the SaaS companies talk about how are they going to encapsulate all the processes as an agent and make it easier. So it's not a DIY, but now they're going to say, hey, we'll just help a salesperson be more efficient in their jobs by having an agent working with him on the side.
So coming back a little bit, I guess, to the cost question, and when you think about these agents, I'm assuming that there's a bit of a cost and simplicity trade-off, like you were mentioning before, because one way to look at it is, I've got my workforce, they're doing something today, maybe they're information workers, salespeople, other desk jobs. Maybe you have other agents that can operate more physical kinds of machinery or robotics. But in either case, there's kind of a simple cost equation here, which is is it cheaper for me to pay for this agent than it is for a person, and how robust is that? Pardon the pun. How robust is it to have an agent in place, this AI agent in place, as opposed to a person? Do you think this is finally achieving this, call it fear or opportunity that people have around, job displacement and kind of workforce automation?
I don't know if there's going to be job displacement per se. You're right that there is that fear for everybody, but it goes to see how a company puts the AI culture into their system, rather than say, hey, we are going to fight it. You just look at the longshoremen strike in the East Coast. They're like against automation. That's because they have not been.
It's big in the news right now, right?
Yes, it's huge in the news. But we got to educate folks that automation is good, that in the long run, they're going to be able to make more money, and we're going to need more people doing different types of jobs. The issue that people have, and they think that I'm going to lose my job to automation, and that's the wrong area of thinking of it. It is that you're going to do your job more effectively with the assistance of some automation, and you take away all the rudimentary work that you typically had to do, and now bring, coming into the age of intelligence.
So this is I think the sales pitch from the futurist to labor, right? Yeah. Is essentially like, don't worry. I think that one question, with the strikes and especially supply chain issues, and I know supply chain issues are really a big issue, and everybody has kind of a take on supply chain. But if we're beholden to these groups, and then suddenly that becomes replaced with people you can reason with and negotiate with, to now these faceless agents. I think was it IBM that had that paper that said you could never give a management decision to a computer because a computer can't be held accountable, right? And so I think there's an interesting question here, addressing the cost, but it's also a question of sort of power dynamics and control as well. How are you thinking about, or are you hearing enterprises kind of wrestling with the different ways they have to maneuver this? Because there's a lot of pressure to adopt AI.
Absolutely.
But what are the sort of the trade-offs, or what are you hearing from kind of your customers that are thinking about this at the boardroom level?
There's a big issue of IP, ethical AI, who owns the intellectual property? That's a big challenge for Microsoft because they've been sued by New York Times. We talked about that, I believe, last time also. And intellectual property, ethical AI. So, how do you train models on a diverse set so that you're not getting a single view, which may be putting some bias in that view? So we are seeing those two, and the other one we talked about again is the cost.
Yeah.
There is a shortage of GPU. People are saying, I need, more power. You just seen Microsoft make this big move and buy a nuclear power plant. But
You're by an island. It's coming back.
is that another, way? Is there other ways of doing it, like building efficiencies right down to the chip levels? Building a new type of chip that is going to handle the AI workloads better. A lot of challenges coming up, and you're going to see multiple issues come up as barriers. So we are seeing everybody saying we need to use AI now, otherwise we are going to be beaten by our competition. However, you need to look at all the risks you're taking and put a path that you're going to move forward in a proper way.
Well, there's almost a theory that you should let your competitors spend all the money on the GPUs and sit back and wait and see how it goes. But the GPUs, supply chain, CPU, we're talking about this cost issue. And one of the, we have elephants at Plainsight, so I'll say the elephant in the room is the cost of GPUs. Now, for a minute, it was, or for a while actually, it was, how do I get my hands on enough GPUs? Oh my God, there's the supply chain issues and constraint. I was hearing that from a lot of people. What I'm hearing now, I'd love to hear your take on this, but I'm hearing people now saying, well, what do you mean I have to spend this much on GPUs? And this sort of multiplication of going, okay, well, in the computer vision space, it's like number of stores times number of cameras equals number of GPUs times, the dollar amount, and that's just to get started. That's before I've even figured out the software, the whatever automation system, the data, like all of that is such an incredible cost. But the biggest limitation on scaling factor that I am hearing is that the GPU, cost of delivery is really a problem. And so, I know that there's some players in the market that are thinking about, how do we reorganize or redesign around inference, edge inference, and optimization of CPUs. But what do you, I guess from a struggle perspective, are you also seeing that sticker shock, the GPU sticker shock? How do you think about this?
There's a GPU sticker shock, there is a shortage, and I told you the power supply part of it. But then you have different types of workloads. What can you now offload to a CPU and do that versus saying GPU is the only way to do it? So take the workloads, distribute it, optimize it, and now deliver the same experience that you can get with a, perhaps if you want to call it GPU only solution. And I think that's where you're going to see some innovation happen in the future, optimization come up, and then that takes away that part of the costs, and you're going to see some real ROI.
Larry, don't share our roadmap under NDA. Come on.
No, I'm not doing it.
No, I'm just joking. No, it's a great point, and I'll just say from our perspective at Plainsight, we are working really hard on computer vision, and I think some of the issues you brought up are really interesting. Like I definitely think the cost issues there, and we have been really asking that question, like what can we do on a CPU to avoid GPUs, but still use them in a optimized way. The other thing you mentioned, you're talking about the privacy and the ethical usage. And one of our principles, which I'm really proud of, is that we will never harvest a customer's data for a model we'll resell, and we really see the model as the customer's asset. Even if we put a lot of energy into helping them, figure out how to train it properly, like we still see that as fundamentally belongs to that customer. And so those are some guiding things I think that are really important. I think the other thing we're talking about is you mentioned kind of at the top, like all these use cases across so many verticals. And look, I'm a CEO. I get a lot of advice from people. I ignore most of it, but but I get a lot of advice from people. They tell me that Plainsight should really focus in on one vertical and try to like win a vertical. And we've actually gone against that principle. We've focused on building general purpose computer vision that actually follows the rule no business logic, right? We say we want to actually do less business logic to allow ourselves to be as reusable as possible to drive down that cost. I don't know. Do you think that this direction around vertical versus general purpose, like I don't know, what are your thoughts on that when you look at the market of sort of computer vision solutions?
It's just and it's not just computer vision, but any other markets, you have some specialists, especially if you build an ecosystem, mainly about systems integrators, other ISVs who are already specialized in an area, Say you have a life sciences ISV or an industrial sector ISV, somebody who's already embedded in manufacturing. Now you go put your solution and let them modify it to go after that vertical would be a better way than you go and build every vertical. It's not, you don't have the bandwidth, you don't have the domain knowledge. So my feeling is for computer vision, at least, is to build a horizontal solution and let the specialists take it and go to market, white labeled if necessary, with that solution, and go and actually deliver real value to that customer under that vertical.
Larry, thanks for being here. It was always a pleasure talking to you. And by the way, anybody out there in the world, if you have comments, leave them below. I think we're on YouTube, so leave me a comment below. We'll be happy to reply. Right, Larry? Anyway, thank you so much.
Thank you. I appreciate having me again. See you.